A U.S. soldier is being detained in North Korea after he crossed, quote, willfully and without authorization into the country from South Korea. Officials say he crossed over the military demarcation line during a tour. The soldier had been released from military detention and was being escorted out of South Korea. The United Nations command says it's working to, quote, resolve the incident. For more, CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us now. Hi, Weijia.
Hi, Nancy. So the White House is talking about how closely they are working with several agencies to try to get to the bottom of what happened. That includes, as you mentioned, the State Department, the United Nations, Department of Defense, to try to understand what transpired. But also, as you mentioned, they do say that this soldier, who U.S. officials tell CBS News was Private Second Class Travis King, crossed over willfully. And so there are a lot of questions, Nancy, about, his thinking, about why he did it, what he was hoping to gain out of this. But the White House press secretary says that they are working to resolve this matter. And so I asked for some clarification about what that meant.
On the matter of the U.S. soldier, you said that the U.S. is working to resolve this matter. Can you just clarify what a resolution is?
Well, I mean, resolve this incident, resolve this matter to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. There is an investigation that's currently occurring. There has been outreach from the Department of Defense, right, as I mentioned, to their counterparts over at the Korean People's Army. You have the State Department, you have the Department of Defense, you have the UN, and the White House all working together to resolve this. Resolving this is basically getting to the bottom of exactly what happened, and that is important for us to know.
And so, Nancy, I followed up by asking, is a resolution bringing this soldier back to the U.S.? And she said they were focused right now on ascertaining his well-being, that there are still a lot of questions about this. And I also asked whether they are working under the assumption that this soldier wants to come home or whether they know that for certain. And because this is so early on in the process, Nancy, she didn't have answers there.
So many weird things about this situation, Weijia. For example, how did this soldier end up hooking up with a tour of the DMZ in the first place when he was supposed to be being escorted out of the country? But obviously, we're waiting for more details on that. So I want to switch gears with you in the meantime and talk about the other big story of the day at the White House, which was the visit to the White House by Israeli President Isaac Herzog. He met with President Biden in the Oval Office. Obviously, there was a lot of drama surrounding this meeting because of who was not sitting there in the Oval Office with President Biden, which is Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who until yesterday hadn't been invited to the U.S. to meet with the president. What can you tell us about what came out of that meeting?
You're right, Nancy. This was a really delicate dance of diplomacy for President Biden because on the one hand, he wanted to stress the, quote, ironclad, unbreakable bond between the U.S. and Israel. On the other, there has been mounting tensions between these two countries because of Prime Minister Netanyahu's policy proposals to essentially limit the amount of checks that on the executive power by reforming its judicial system. And the president, Biden, has been very critical of this. And as a result, back in March, he said he had no plans in the near term to meet with Netanyahu. Well, on the eve of this meeting with President Herzog, President Biden had a phone call with Netanyahu and invited him to the U.S. for a meeting, although it's important to note that the time and the location has not been confirmed. Netanyahu claims that this meeting is going to happen here at the White House, which, of course, offers significant political standing for any world leader. But the White House and President Biden is not confirming, Nancy, that it's actually happening here. So, you can read into that what you will. But so far, the White House says, that is not that we shouldn't be reading into that. But it's very normal, as you know, when the president invites a world leader to have a bilateral meeting here. And so the fact that it's not happening may be a nod to the fact that there are still some tensions between the two countries.
Right. What most observers would read into that situation is the fact that the White House is probably going to be watching how the prime minister conducts his affairs over the next few months before deciding whether he's going to be invited to the White House itself or not. Weijia Jiang, thank you so much.